The Kansas City Chiefs entered the offseason with an unusual silence that sparked nationwide speculation. After another deep playoff push, expectations for adjustments were inevitable. Yet, as other franchises moved aggressively in free agency, Kansas City appeared restrained. This restraint led to questions: was it calculated patience or underlying uncertainty? The departures of a few familiar names left visible gaps on the roster, while extensions for key players remained unresolved. Analysts began dissecting every minor move, searching for clues about the organization's true direction. Andy Reid and Brett Veach, usually precise in communication, offered little insight into long-term intentions. The tension grew among fans and insiders, both waiting for a decisive move that never seemed to arrive. The Chiefs, known for calculated dominance, appeared caught between retooling for the future and preserving the core that built a dynasty. As the offseason unfolded, the question deepened: were these quiet weeks a sign of calm confidence or the beginning of a turbulent transition? The Chiefs' offseason silence became more than just a storyline. It was a test of trust in leadership. While rival teams reshaped their rosters with bold trades and signings, Kansas City remained methodical. Critics argued that standing still in a league driven by constant evolution was dangerous. Supporters countered that Andy Reid's system thrived on stability, not impulsive decisions. The front office focused on cap discipline, valuing future flexibility over instant gratification. However, whispers of missed opportunities began circulating, particularly in the receiver market and defensive depth. Each unmade move added pressure to the perception of inactivity. The organization's refusal to chase high-priced talent reflected belief in internal development, a philosophy that had worked before but carried new risks. Patrick Mahomes' ability to elevate any roster created confidence, yet questions persisted about how long that formula could sustain success. The Chiefs' restraint, once seen as wisdom, now hovered between brilliance and hesitation, leaving observers divided on whether Kansas City was preparing for dominance or decline. Beneath the quiet headlines, subtle roster adjustments hinted at a deeper plan. While Kansas City avoided blockbuster acquisitions, the team targeted undervalued contributors, players known more for consistency than flash. The coaching staff emphasized youth, giving opportunities to emerging talents from within. These smaller moves reflected a philosophical shift, less about individual star power, more about system efficiency. Yet, such precision required time to mature. The release of certain veterans created both emotional and strategic consequences. Losing locker room leaders tested team chemistry, while new faces needed to align with Reid's complex offensive framework. Each transaction carried meaning, often invisible to casual observers. Analysts who studied the team's internal metrics noticed patterns focus on versatility, endurance, and adaptability across all units. The Chiefs seemed to be re-engineering from the inside out, strengthening depth and flexibility rather than chasing headlines. In a league obsessed with immediacy, this long-term vision appeared counterintuitive. But for Kansas City, patience had often been the foundation of power. Waiting for results to silence doubt, Patrick Mahomes remained the heartbeat of Kansas City's transformation. His leadership extended beyond highlight plays, influencing roster and scheme decisions. Every offseason discussion revolved around maximizing his longevity and efficiency. The front office understood that sustaining Mahomes' prime required surrounding him with balanced protection, reliable targets, and a defense capable of sustaining pressure. Mahomes' maturity in the face of shifting personnel reflected evolution from gifted talent to generational architect. His ability to adjust without complaint, to elevate unknown receivers into trusted weapons, kept the Chiefs competitive. Behind closed doors, his partnership with Andy Reid shaped the direction of every move, blending trust and adaptability. Yet, the pressure on his shoulders grew heavier. Each year, expectations expanded, and patience from fans shortened. The organization's restraint placed faith in his resilience, assuming he could master transitional growing pains. The question was not whether Mahomes could carry the load, but how long such weight could remain sustainable without structural reinforcement around him. while attention often focused on the offense. The Chiefs' defense underwent a quieter, yet vital evolution. Defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo prioritized versatility, molding a younger, faster unit designed to adapt to modern offensive schemes. The emergence of players like Trent McDuffie and Nick Bolton showcased a foundation built on intelligence and speed rather than star power. The organization's investment in continuity within the defensive scheme paid dividends, but questions lingered about depth and leadership following the departure of key veterans. The Chiefs' offseason choices suggested confidence in internal growth over external acquisitions. Analysts noted subtle shifts in strategy, greater emphasis on situational flexibility, hybrid alignments, and pressure disguises. These elements formed the backbone of Kansas City's defensive identity heading into the next season. Yet, success depended on execution, not design. The Chiefs' defense, once a secondary storyline, was quietly being positioned as the stabilizing force for the team's evolving era. Whether it could sustain the same intensity under greater responsibility remained uncertain. Andy Reid's calm exterior often masked the complexity of managing a dynasty in motion. Behind the scenes, he faced mounting challenges balancing veteran loyalty, cap constraints, and the need for renewal. His coaching philosophy emphasized adaptability, but even adaptability faced limits under constant expectation. Each season demanded innovation without sacrificing identity. Reid's offensive creativity redefined the modern game, yet maintaining that edge grew harder as defenses adjusted. The offseason reflected his strategic restraint, preferring refinement over overhaul. However, such an approach invited risk in a league that rewarded aggressive evolution. Assistant coaches played larger roles in development, ensuring continuity amid potential staff changes. Reid's trust in his coaching tree symbolized confidence in culture over chaos. Still, whispers around the league questioned whether the Chiefs' golden formula could sustain its magic indefinitely. For Reid, the challenge was no longer creating success, it was reinventing it. Without losing the very principles that made Kansas City an empire in the first place, expectations around Kansas City grew to an almost impossible level. 3 Super Bowl appearances and consistent dominance had redefined normalcy. Every minor setback now sparked panic, and every move or lack of one fueled speculation. The organization operated under the weight of legacy management rather than simple competitiveness. Players felt it, coaches lived it, and the front office navigated it daily. Maintaining hunger after repeated success required psychological precision. The Chiefs' culture of accountability kept complacency distant, but human limits persisted. With the offseason spotlight intensifying, each rumor became magnified, and each player under scrutiny. Mahomes and Travis Kelce symbolized leadership through calm focus, yet even they could not silence the external noise entirely. The narrative of panic began feeding itself, amplified by media cycles eager for drama. Yet beneath that noise, the Chiefs' true challenge wasn't roster construction, it was sustaining identity amid constant expectation. Greatness had become their standard, leaving no room for the perception of decline. Behind every major decision this offseason lay a single guiding principle: financial discipline. The Chiefs' front office balanced present competitiveness with future flexibility, ensuring room to maneuver in coming years. Mahomes' contract structure offered long-term stability, but demanded careful resource allocation. Kansas City avoided reactionary spending, refusing to compromise sustainability for temporary gain. Instead, they invested strategically in draft development and player retention. This philosophy created tension among fans craving instant excitement, but reflected the organization's deep-rooted belief in longevity. Brett Veach's calculated approach ensured the Chiefs remained contenders without succumbing to short-term chaos. Every decision aligned with building a system capable of regenerating success organically. The offseason narrative of panic overshadowed the meticulous structure forming beneath it, a system built to outlast temporary fluctuations. While critics questioned the lack of splash moves, insiders recognized the value of subtle precision. The Chiefs' front office understood dynasties crumble not from failure, but from impatience. In Kansas City, Patience remained the quiet weapon behind sustained excellence. Amid uncertainty, one consistent theme emerged: competition. Kansas City's offseason fostered a culture where every position was earned, not inherited. Younger players were challenged to seize opportunities, and veterans faced the reality of evolving roles. Training programs emphasized resilience, adaptability, and leadership under transition. This internal competition mirrored the franchise's broader philosophy: sustained dominance through constant renewal. New additions integrated into the system with clear purpose, understanding that success in Kansas City required mental sharpness as much as physical skill. Andy Reid's staff placed heavy focus on versatility, preparing players to perform across multiple schemes. This approach ensured depth without reliance on singular stars. The locker room dynamic shifted toward collective accountability, a reflection of years of cultivated culture. Far from being a team in decline, the Chiefs appeared to be re-engineering their foundation for another chapter of sustained power. In an offseason defined by perception, Kansas City quietly reaffirmed its greatest strength: internal evolution through competition. As the offseason narrative unfolded, the truth became clearer: the Kansas City Chiefs were not panicking, they were positioning. Every decision, from silent restraint to calculated release, reflected control, confusion. The franchise had reached a level where emotion could not dictate direction. While outsiders interpreted patience as hesitation, insiders saw precision. The Chiefs' structure thrived on timing, trusting development, and anticipating opportunity. This approach had built champions before, and was now being refined for endurance. Mahomes, Reid, and Veach stood united under a shared philosophy of sustainable dominance, willing to sacrifice headlines for harmony. The offseason, though quiet, became a testament to disciplined leadership amid noise. In a league obsessed with instant results, Kansas City's confidence in its process separated it from the rest. What appeared uncertain to many was, in truth, the calm execution of a long-term strategy. The Chiefs' silence was not fear, it was power, exercised with intent and purpose, signaling that Kansas City's reign was far from finished.